Once I transitioned to operations, oh my goodness, I have a diamond in front of me. With all those insights and all of these opportunities, that's exactly what I was craving for.
Customer experience wisdom, a dash of travel talk. We've been cleared for takeoff.
The best meals are served outside and require a passport.
Hey there, CX Passport listeners. Today's guest is Cami Ferreira, proving that the best guests come from CX Passport alums. Cami and I have a mutual connection in Dennis Wakabayashi. And he's a former CX Passport guest way back in episode 68, all the way in 2022. Cami hails from Brazil and now is based in the Miami area. Speaking as one of the trusted global voices of CX, she stands out with this blend of strategy and culture. She leads Rise Up, helping companies turn theory into action and good intentions into measurable results. Measurable, tangible results. My business love language. She's worked across finance, contact centers, and global CX programs and brings this perspective that's grounded, practical, and shaped by international experience. Cami, welcome to CX Passport.
Oh my goodness. It's such a pleasure being here. And I was listening to you with the introduction. Yes, there is so much for us to unpack today and to share how to transform experience into business growth.
What a treat it is for me today, and what a treat it will be for the listeners and viewers of CX Passport. I want to start your background, right? You have the Brazilian background in the Miami area. I always love talking about the Brazilian culture because there's something unique about it and customer experience. What is it about the Brazilian culture that influences the way people engage with customer experience? And then why does that actually matter on the global stage?
Yeah, it's very interesting, Rick, because of course it's completely different the way I see Brazil today than what I used to see Brazil 10 years
Mm,
ago before I left. When you were part of the culture, when you have no other external reference, you just take things for granted.
yeah.
But now, after having lived so many years internationally and having had the chance to deal with so many cultures, I look back to Brazil and I can see what are the main differentiators. And in the field of CX, I believe that Brazil is very much emotional and relationship driven. So
Okay.
just to give you an example, here in the US, people are more pragmatic. So when we talk about CX, we need to talk about efficiency and speed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's not the case in Brazil. So in Brazil, it's about talking, it's about empathy, it's about emotion that at the end of the day drives trust. I was in Brazil 2 months ago. And on average, for example, in Europe, people take about from 8 to 10 referrals to make a shopping decision. So, for
Okay.
example, let's suppose you want to buy a pair of sneakers. Then you're
Mhm.
going to ask maybe your wife, your friends, your coworkers, and so on and so forth. And for you to make your mind, it takes on average from 8 to 10 opinions or referrals. In Brazil, it's 2.5.
Really?
Yes. That's the power of a relationship in Brazil and trust. So,
Huh.
yes. No. Trust in Brazil is definitely a competitive advantage that, if well used, can drive a lot more and faster sales. But
Okay.
the opposite is also true, because
Oh.
if you come to me and say,
Yeah.
"What about this pair of sneakers?" and say, "No, don't go for it," it won't take much for you not to decide not to buy it.
So I want to pull at that a little bit and go at the why, right? What is it about the Brazilian shopping experience? And I realize it's the overall kind of customer perception that is willing to make those kind of, and I realize sneakers are one thing, but it could be a dramatic decision that you're describing. And it is such this view of, I trust the 2.5 that I know, and I'm going with the 2.5 that I know.
Yeah. When I compare, for example, Brazil and the US, I can see that here we are way more data driven than
Okay.
in Brazil. So this can be one of the reasons why the trust has a bigger weight in Brazil than in the US. I think that here, before you shopping, what do you do? What are the reviews? The end of the day, it's a referral, but in a kind of a second or third level. What are the reviews? What are the complaints? And I think that in Brazil, this is a culture that is still being developed when compared to the US. And it's more about the community that you are part of.
Interesting.
Hypothesis. Okay, this is Cami's hypothesis, okay?
Well, you certainly have a better source for your hypothesis than I do. My extent in Brazil is 6 weeks on a project down there back in 1998. So I trust your hypothesis more than anything that I would come up. You said the word complain in there. And you had told me when we were first meeting, several weeks ago, that there's this Brazil's complain here system where complaints go after direct escalation.
Yes.
Like, as someone outside of Brazil, I was shocked that this kind of setup even exists. So can you walk me and the listeners through this again? How does it work? How does it shape accountability and then overall service improvement?
Yes, absolutely. It's called Reclame, Aqui, which is the open translation of complain here.
Okay.
So let's get back to my example of buying a pair of sneakers.
Mm-hmm.
Let's suppose you bought it and for some reason you have an issue with the product. What is the first thing you're going to do? Get in contact with the supplier, right? With the vendor, and through contact support. And if things get sorted out, good. You're in a good shape.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of how life goes on. What if not? What do you do?
Let's see. Do I complain on social media? Do I tell all of my friends and family? Do I give up? Do I try to escalate? It's a mess.
But none of this will guarantee or will give you a path for resolution.
Absolutely
It's
not.
more of you venting out that frustration.
Yeah. It's more therapeutic than productive. Yeah.
Reclame Aqui or Complain Here is a private company, but an open platform. It's a website where you go and say, hey, I bought this pair of sneakers. This is the problem that I faced. I got in contact with the company and no resolution or very unsatisfied resolution.
Mm-hmm.
Boom. Then everybody knows what happened with your shopping experience.
Okay.
And because it became so popular and quite quickly, and why? Because before Reclame Aqui, there was only one government institution called Procon that used to manage this. But with a lack of transparency, long waiting times, no visibility on the process. So you could go there and complain and wait your entire life for no answer.
Right.
And that's when Reclame Aqui started, just to start giving visibility of those unsatisfactory resolutions. So in that particular example that I gave you, you got your pair of sneakers, you did not get the support or the problem resolved. Then you go to this platform, Reclame Aqui, and what happens is Reclame Aqui contacts the company and say, hey, we have a customer here saying that he or she bought a pair of sneakers and they faced this problem and it was not resolved.
Mm-hmm.
The company has if I'm not mistaken, up to 90 days to get back to you.
Okay.
And once they do, that's the other important thing. You have the chance to reply back and say, yes, the problem was resolved, satisfactory or not.
Yeah.
And based on this, they start ranking the companies. And now they've also extended to awards. So it became a kind of a big and real business. Because now, before buying a pair of sneakers, what are you going to do? You're going to go to Reclame Aqui and see what is the reputation of the company.
This is your captain speaking. I want to thank you for listening to CX Passport today. We've now reached our cruising altitude, so I'll turn that seatbelt sign off. While you're getting comfortable, hit that follow or subscribe button on your favorite podcast app so you'll never miss an episode. Love it if you'd tell a friend about CX Passport, leave a review so others can discover the show as well. Now, sit back and enjoy the rest of the episode.
Okay, so I'm hearing you say that, and I imagine other listeners are doing the same thing. They're thinking, well, we have something like that in the U.S. We've got the Trustpilot or Better Business Bureau or those kind of things. The reality is people don't really trust those organizations. They feel like they're skewed towards the business or there's something shady going on or something like that. As I'm hearing that, I'm thinking what you're describing sounds like it would be somewhat specifically uniquely Brazilian, going back to the first question that you were talking about, and that is that idea of trust, that there is this trust that if I see these comments and these reviews, I trust that this is one of my 2.5 people that I'm checking with.
Yes. And I think two things here, Rick. One is an independent institution. Remember what I
Yeah.
said before? We do have a government-based institution called Procon,
Mhm.
and it has never worked.
Right.
Lack of transparency, lack of trust. But this one is very independent and people know it. And second is in the early days of Reclame Aqui, they chased a lot the companies to get back to clients. That's what actually helped build trust. And because it became so popular so quickly, the reputation of the brands in that particular website or with that particular company, which is Reclame Aqui, is very relevant.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
they either sell more or less depending on their reputation. And who gives them the reputation? Their clients.
This is exactly it. Ultimately, all of these experiences for a business are in the hopes of selling more shoes, like you said. The reason they're doing this is not because they have the warmth in their heart for the customer and hope that the shoes work. They're hoping that they can make more sales. What is it about a financial mindset that traditional customer experience leaders often underestimate?
Yeah. And here I'm going to give you another example. I love examples. I think it helps
Hey,
people
give them to
understand.
me.
But imagine a toddler that is starting to talk, and the toddler wants something from the fridge, but he doesn't know the words. He knows what he wants,
Mm-hmm.
but he doesn't know the words. And he tries to express him or herself. But what is missing is a clear communication.
Okay.
That's what lacks. And that's why coming from a finance background helps me very much. And I'm going to explain you why.
Mm-hmm.
In the first 10 years of my professional life, I worked in different finance departments, accounting, reporting, investor relations, right hand of CFOs. So I learned in my early days, in my early professional days, what matters most to investors
Got it.
and what is the language they speak.
Mm-hmm.
And this is key because once I transitioned to operations and differently than the majority of the CX leaders, my career did not start in support. My career started in finance. And when I was in finance, I was constantly looking for opportunities to either drive more sales or more efficiency or more profitability, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
more return to the investment because I worked for multinational companies and public companies. So once I transitioned to operations, like, oh my goodness, I have a diamond in front of me. Because with all those insights and all of these opportunities, that's exactly what I was kind of craving for, like the toddler when I was in finance.
Right.
What was missing? Translate that into finance language. And that was my expertise.
Mm-hmm.
So I could translate absolutely everything. So churn reduction, increase in lifetime, customer lifetime, or the cost of not doing something, whatever.
Right.
I used to do that on my daily basis. What I did not have was the input, was the insight that I found when I transitioned into operations. So when I look at the opportunities for CX leaders is definitely understanding and talking the boardroom language. So I
Okay.
see them as the toddler I told you in front of the fridge, craving for something. They know what it is. They just don't know how to express themselves.
What I'm laughing about is there's some CX leaders right now, if they're on their run, while they're listening to this, or if they're driving, they're pounding their dash going, I'm not a toddler, but I can certainly get, well,
But
let
they
me,
will remember the toddler
yeah,
example,
they
and that's
totally
what
will.
matters.
Let's stick with that for a second. So you've got the communication. Let's say the toddler grows up and they learn the communication and now they're the teenager. Let's take it to the teenager.
Yeah.
If the teenager is CX and the parent in this situation is finance, there's a relationship that they're supposed to sort of play nicely together, but often there's a butting heads, especially in those teenage years. They're viewing life through very different lenses. Stepping out of the analogy, customer experience people think one way, finance people think one way. How did you manage that resistance from CX teams that you were a part of when you're bringing in your finance perspective, and then the reverse? How did finance teams push back on you as well when your CX ideas came into play?
Yeah. So my kid is only 6 years old, so I haven't stepped or experienced myself what it means to have a teenager at home. But
It's
I,
coming.
I know. Oh my goodness, my gray hair here. I need to buy
Hey,
some.
I'm an empty nester. There's a reason why it's almost all gray.
Yeah. So the other mistake I see leaders making, asking for something before giving something else.
Okay.
So let's go to the teenager example. If they come to you and say, "Hey, daddy, hey, mom, I have already kind of done my homework. I have done all the duties, all the chores, and so on. Can I do something else?"
Okay.
Is one situation. The other situation is, "I want to go out with my friends and then play kind of a video game." And then the next they're going to ask, "Have you done your duties? Are you done with your homework?" You first give to get something in exchange.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What finance, and that's why it's so important, Rick, to understand the culture and the language of your audience.
Mhm.
That is truly important. And this is something that I learned throughout my international career. For the good and for the bad, I have lived in 5 different countries in 8 years.
Goodness.
So I had to adapt quickly enough to understand the culture, to understand the language. And I used to say that I have to read what's not written. I have to listen what is not said. And I have to understand what is not expressed. This is when you understand culture. So if you go to finance, what is finance looking for? Metrics, they are very sharp, they are precise, and they are constantly looking for ways to have a better financial performance of their metrics. So if you go to finance looking for something, this is what you need to give in advance. Let me give you a real example in CX. People go to finance, CX leaders go to finance asking for money. They need budget for a new platform. Now we are in the hype of artificial intelligence. Oh, I need a new software, I need artificial intelligence, and so on and so forth. So they're going to compete with thousands of other opportunities across the organization. Because in the same way that CX is going there, HR is going there, sales is going there, and everyone else is going to finance to ask for money. And finance will reply back and say, "Give me 10% more efficiency." Right? So we start this
Automatic.
conversation.
Yeah. Right.
If you go to finance and say, "Hey, I have identified here that by automating our support or some of the most frequent interactions, we can not only reduce costs because we're going to have a more automated solution for the organization, but I also foresee an increase in sales because with the same human resources that I currently have, I will be able to cross-sell and upsell." This is the ROI of this investment.
I see.
And then the trick question is, how does it compete with the ROI of the other opportunities that you have? Let's discuss ROI. You moved away from being the child, the spoiled child asking for money completely. And then you start talking what? Boardroom language. Because then you, as a finance guy, you have to prove me, or at least to show me that you have other initiatives with better ROI or higher ROI than mine.
Cami, did I hear that right? Let's see. Lived in 5 countries in 8 years, and I know that you've traveled in all sorts of places. You've been on a lot of planes, and you know this, that when you're doing that kind of flying, it can be nice to stop off in the lounge, especially the first class lounge. And that's what I invite you to do today. Join me here in the first class lounge. We'll move quickly and have a little bit of fun here. What is a dream travel location from your past?
I think the most impressive one was Atacama Desert in Chile.
Nice.
Yes, I started my trip in Bolivia, which is the biggest solar desert that we have on Earth. And then I crossed the borders to Chile to visit Atacama Desert. And there was one particular experience that stuck with me. One night in the middle of the desert, no lights, just the headlight of the cars. We went to a hot spring at night. and everything was completely dark except for the headlights that guided us to the path to the hot springs.
Hmm.
And once they turned off the headlights of the car and I looked up, Rick, the sky was white of stars.
Wow. Oh, that's
That
nice.
was such a view that I will never ever forget. I have never seen so many
Oh, man.
stars. Literally a sky full of stars.
All right. Well, then I want to know after when we, I want to know where this was because I want to check that out for a future trip for me because I've not actually not been to Bolivia. I've not been to Chile yet. So someday I'll get there. What about you? What's a dream travel location you've not been to yet?
A couple.
Yeah.
But I think the top of the list is Alaska. I want to do a
Mm.
cruise in Alaska for different reasons. One, I think that the environment, the life in such a cold place is completely different than what I'm used to.
Hmm.
I used to say that I have 2 seasons here in the US. The first one was in Chicago that I almost got frozen, and the second one was in Florida. So I prefer warmer places, but cold and the icebergs and the life. This is something that really gets my attention. So top of the list, I would say is a cruise in Alaska.
Yeah, I love that Chicago, you're like, yeah, that's it. It chased you all the way to Miami. You didn't pick it. You went straight down to Miami after Chicago. So I mentioned that I'd been in Brazil, and one of my fondest memories of being in Brazil is just the phenomenal food. And I don't want to bias you towards an answer here. I just know that I loved it there. What is a favorite thing of yours to eat?
Oh my goodness. You're not alone in that preference for Brazil. Speaking of Dennis, last time he went to Brazil, I introduced him to coxinha, which is a kind of a chicken, kind of a fried chicken that is
Okay.
very recipe, and he literally loved it. But speaking of me, there is another Brazilian sweet called brigadeiro, which I'm not
Okay.
sure if you have ever heard about it.
I don't think I did.
Oh my goodness, brigadeiro is amazing. Which is nothing but condensed milk with chocolate that you cook. That's it. But
Okay.
yeah, it sounds kind of but at the end, the taste is just amazing. And in every single kid's birthday party, they have a brigadeiro in Brazil. What they do is that they cook the condensed milk with chocolate and they do kind of a little balls covered with chocolate sprinkles, and this is just delicious.
Oh
And
my
this is
gosh.
yes.
That
So
sounds so good. Oh,
if you haven't tried this, don't do it because the only thing I know
yeah.
is that you're gonna get addicted.
Well, you know what? I'm not afraid of being addicted to food. There's a lot of favorites that I have out there. I also know that there's some certain foods that I won't touch. And I'm curious, what is something growing up that you were forced to eat, but you hated as a kid?
Salad.
Oh, just salad in general. Okay.
Well, yeah, no, I used to have my nanny used to force me to eat lettuce, cucumber, I don't know, all sorts and types of salad, and I hated. And I got so traumatized that until today, I don't eat salad.
How funny. I like that
Yes.
it's the whole category. It's like, nope, it's salad in general.
You know how funny is that? So he stayed with me until I was, I don't know, around 7, 8 years old, and then she left. And through social media, we reconnected. We
Oh, how
reconnected.
nice.
Yeah, I found her on Facebook recently, and then I let her know, say, "Hey, you used to kind of force me to eat salad until nowadays I don't." I was like, "Oh my goodness, it was your mommy pushing me to do."
That's
Just a fun
so
fact.
funny. I love that. And that's what I love about the First Class Lounge is getting those stories that are just from places you wouldn't expect. Sadly, though, it is time for us to leave the lounge. What is one travel item, not including your phone, not including your passport, that you will not leave home without?
Ooh, phone and passport, definitely. What else? Now you got me. Maybe they're my sneakers, then I can go whatever I want because without my pair of shoes, it's gonna be harder.
Cami, absolutely. You got to have those shoes. I have found that, and other guests have said the same thing, that walking a city, especially one that you're not familiar with, really gets you that ground level exposure and a deeper understanding than public transportation or other ways that you might get around. So those shoes, it's a smart choice there. I'm going to go back to talking about your growth into the customer experience and the business leader that you are. You have often, and many do, talk about people learn more from their failures than their successes. How do you specifically bring that mindset into a customer experience, team culture, and decision making?
Yeah. There is a post of mine that states exactly this: success without failure is a myth.
Love it. I almost want to just end there, but keep going. I want you to explain that. But yes, absolutely. It doesn't exist.
Why do we have failures, first of all? It's a different expectations. Coming back to my sneakers example, you were expecting something and you received something different.
Hmm.
Expectations, right? It's almost impossible to map every single person's expectations, especially because you may expect something today and something different tomorrow. So
Right.
that's where AI comes into place, and that's why it's so important and relevant. But let's kind of keep the AI aside for now. Um, if we did something wrong, if we did something that did not meet your expectation, we got to learn from that. So translating this into CX, one of the initiatives I did in my last employer was that every time that we received a 1 or 2 CSAT, there was a specific squad team in charge of reverting and understanding and learning from that situation within an hour frame. An hour. It has to be timely. It cannot take a
Yeah.
week for me to get back to you. So, in that example of sneakers, you kind of contact support. We did not resolve. You respond the CSAT and you gave us 1 or 2 stars.
Hmm.
Immediately, I would have someone on the phone with you. So, hey, Nick, hey, Rick, what happened? Let me understand, where did we fail? How can we do things? How can we do things differently and better? That's it. And these would drive process improvement. These would drive
Yeah.
product insights. And this would kind of drive so many insightful conversations across the organization and not limited to support. Because maybe your satisfaction was not related to support, but I don't know, with a product
Yeah.
or a fabric of the sneakers. I don't know.
You said something there that I think that's actually what I want to close out with today, and that is the idea of think of all those insights that are being gathered there. It's not just, oh, can I appease the customer? Here's a 10% coupon, pat them on the back of the head, and go on their merry way. You're describing this. How can I get better at my product? How can I get better at my process? And you have transformed contact centers in the past. They've gone from these challenged operations to global models that are focused on revenue impact. And I think that's a lot of what you're talking about there.
Mhm.
How have you guided that journey? What defines success in that journey? And ultimately, how are you elevating a contact center from being just a place for a customer to dump complaints into a profit center?
Yeah. To me, it's a combination of 3 pillars:
Okay.
leadership, experience, and technology. And let me kind of break it down for you. Leadership, why? Because you need to set the vision. In my last employer, that we went from being one of the worst support across the industry to be awarded as the best one, the
Mhm.
very first thing that I did was set the mission of aspiring to be the best of the industry. So every single person in my 300 people team knew that we were moving towards that direction. And
Mhm.
every single action would contribute to that or not, depending on what they decide to do. That's why leadership is so important. Second is experience. And people think about experience, a client experience, a customer experience is the experience towards your external client. Your very first client is your employee. How do you treat them? What is the experience? Are you developing them? Are you training them? Are you giving them the tools to action that will actually set them up for success? Yes or no? Because remember what I said about going to finance and negotiating. You give for them to ask.
Right.
I cannot ask my employee to deliver a good customer experience if they are not having a good experience themselves. So that's why experience matters. And 3 is technology. So why would I ask my team or someone in my team to invest or waste time on something that can be automated? I would
Mm.
rather get that talent and invest on something that will bring a better or higher return. And then we are talking about what? Finance, return on investment. The combination of those 3 will give you the best output, the best outcome possible.
And that's the way that you're getting to ultimately, it's not just a phone bank, but actually that profit, that customer insight center, all the value that you're describing. Cami, enjoyed that today. Thank you for sharing your insights, both on the specific kind of Brazilian culture element of it, that idea of trust, and 2.5 relationships that you check in with. That's just shocking to most of us. Heck, I spent a week, it felt like, reviewing reviews just to try to book a place to go stay on vacation, right? So that
It's a
concept and
Brazilian.
yeah, well, trust me, I'm incredibly tempted, especially after that dessert that you described there. And then on into how can we make these customer experiences and customer experience teams something that's tangible and relevant? If folks wanted to get to know a little bit more about you and your approach to customer experience, your approach to actually creating tangible business insights, what's the best way for them to get to know more?
Yeah, absolutely. I would recommend, I would suggest them to follow me on LinkedIn. It's Camila Ferreira Global. You're going to see many flags. Those are by the way, people asking me, why do I have so many flags on my LinkedIn? Those are the countries that I have lived in.
Nice.
Uh, yes, so that's the best way. I also have my book available on Amazon. It's called Long Live CX. By the way, co-authored with Denis Wakabayashi.
Okay.
You're going to find lots of insights on how to deal with CX in this newest version, where it's not a department. This is the ecosystem that drives business growth.
Okay. And drives business growth. That's key. Folks, you know the drill. All of that's going to be in the show notes. There'll be a link there that you can check out Cami's LinkedIn profile and an affiliate link that takes you straight into buying her book there on Amazon as well. Cami, certainly enjoyed it today. Obrigado. Thank you for being on CX Passport.
No, thank you for having me, and happy to share all the links with the trip to Chile, the brigadeiro, and everything else that you need. Thank you so much for having me.